So, I've just been on a little walk to a shop, wholesale, really cheap shit, fruit and veg, yeah, I had some thoughts, just wanted to share, see where we go. My first thought was that how I can only be with myself when working and when in like fresh air and being physically active. So sometimes people say they can't be with themselves, and I always thought like, oh yeah, well, last summer when I was cycling, I was with myself alone for like, I don't know, most of the time it was alone, over the course of like 3 months or 4 months. I think it was just over 3. And then I was thinking, like, when I'm with myself, like this morning, today for example, I've been cooped up inside and doing some semi-self-destructive things, mainly just overeating. Not really, overeating was last night, honestly. This morning it was just a lot of anxiety. So yeah, I can be with myself when working. When I'm not working, when I'm like indoors, mainly when I'm like indoors and cooped up, I start getting just anxious, and then I start, instead of just like riding it through, I'll just like go into self-destruct mode and slowly start self-destructing. And I remember that Emma girl was saying about going to a monkish sanctuary. What do you call them? Like monk temples? Honestly, can't even think. Like a respite, monkish respite. She said it was like life-changing, and I was thinking like, I would like to go there. And then just today, I thought in the past, how much I'd like to go to one of those sort of places. And then I just recently thought like, it would be fine, and I would probably come out somewhat changed, and I'd enjoy it. But that would probably primarily be because of the nature of the environment. So it'd be outdoors, it'd be very quiet and peaceful, there'd be no busyness, and that would be very conducive to my personality, and for like a lot of people, I imagine it would be relaxing. So yeah, so I'd go there, I'd be like, wow, I'm so at peace or whatever, and then I'd leave, and then I'd go back into normal society, and then I'd start getting anxious again, and I'd think like, why can't I just get to the state I was in when I was in that monkish place? And it'd be because the environment's completely different. That environment pertains to it's a catalyst for peace. It's an inductor for like a peace and whatever, because it's so chill, man. So yeah, I'm still learning, struggling to be completely okay with myself no matter the environment. If I'm home alone, I might work for a bit, like do some guitar, and if I can force myself to cook, then I'll cook, then I'll feel okay. But then if I don't continue being productive, I start spiraling down, and then I start a negative feedback loop, whereby I will start self-destructing. That's probably all I want to talk about for that, regarding that. I've still got a lot to learn about myself and a lot to accept about myself. Obviously there's a lot of inner conflict and turmoil, because, as I say, if I'm alone indoors and I don't get outdoors and I don't force myself to take a walk to sort of alleviate some of that anxiety, then the tension starts building and I start self-destructing. Secondly, just a note about Nico. I just came in now, and Nico was like, no, and he was like shouting a bit, and then he was laughing. He was playing Warzone in Call of Duty. And I was in the kitchen unpacking all my fruits and veggies, and I just kind of like laughed to myself, and I just I realised that I admire Nico for that. He's South American, and the South Americans are sort of renowned for being quite passionate and emotionally in tune. Maybe even quite emotionally strong. You know what I mean? They're very in touch, and maybe amplified. Their emotions maybe amplified. I don't know. But yeah, I think they're renowned for being quite passionate, and that's admirable. I think for so long, and I think especially in sort of the West and Western culture of like productivity and business and whatever, we're quite, I'd say, we hold in quite high esteem attributes, stoical attributes, steadfastness and not being emotional and being able to take things and just ride with it and not getting too attached to things and all of that sort of jazz. And I probably still do to a great extent, hold on to that as quite dearly, and think that's like the best way to be, just to be indifferent to many things and not become attached to things. But yeah, I think one of the best things about life is probably the fluctuation of emotions and becoming attached to things and falling in love with people and forming close relationships, even though loving somebody almost implies the pain of falling out of love or being heartbroken. People may say, it reminds me of BoJack saying like, what's the point in love? It's something like, what's the point in loving somebody if it only promises heartbreak? I think it has to be, speaking at present, I would say it is absolutely worthwhile, because the bad is worth the good, so I think it would be nice. When I hear him, he sometimes sings to himself or changes lyrics to songs, and he bursts out laughing at his own little things like that, and I just admire that, because he can just be kind of pretty content with himself, and I'm not saying he's perfect, like he said, like he can get quickly depressed within like 3 days if he's left alone, so my presence probably helps him stay emotionally balanced, and the people he keeping in communication with his friends and whatnot and family helps him. Nevertheless, the idea that the fact that he can make himself laugh over very little things and stuff is admirable. And lastly, just a bit about existentialism, because I always used to love the idea that man is the product of his past acts, his past actions. Man is a product of his actions. Man is a consequence of his actions. The worth of man is the sum of his actions. That's basically it. Super produced. And I used to be like, wow, that's really great, and I used to be like, wow, that's really daunting. And I think I have been terrified or felt like an emotional massive stress, felt massive burden of like self-expectation and self-contempt in the past, because I've been like, well, I overeat and I do all these not so great things and I'm not in perfect shape, so I'm bad, I'm shit, and I've just coming back, I kind of reinterpreted that, or not reinterpreted, but I sort of shifted my perspective, and I had a realization that I was putting onto, I was projecting my values onto this notion of, existentialism, of man is the sum of his past actions. That statement is, I believe, is indifferent to good and evil, to vice and virtue. It just simply is. That's just a statement. And what I was doing in the past, and have been hitherto, is projecting my notions of good and evil onto that. And because I obviously greatly focus on the bad in myself, I was just seeing that my past actions, generally being negative, have resulted in me being bad. And I think that's pretty big. That's quite. I'd say that's something of another realization. Because yeah, Sartre probably would say, okay, well yeah, you overeat and stuff, and that's a result of all the things in the past. It's up to you to how you value them. You don't have to say overeating doesn't have to be bad and doesn't make you a bad person. You know, you look at all the good, and you don't just weigh it up and go, ah yes, so you're slightly bad, or you're slightly bad, or you're slightly good. You shouldn't make. I don't think any of us are wise enough and self-aware enough and have perfect knowledge of ourselves to make such a blanket statement as we are totally good, or we are a bit good or a bit bad overall. I mean, yeah, it just mainly, probably primarily depends on our current emotional state. You know, our current emotional state determines what we see in ourselves. So yeah, that's that. It's Saturday, 1st of August, I believe. And yeah, I'm gonna get a alarm clock, so my phone is in my bedroom, so I have no ability to look on the internet to try to find porn, but I pretty much can't because of my blocker thing, and also just I can't go on YouTube at night, so I'm like forced to look at a book instead. I bought a metronome today. I did some guitar exercises, which were fucking difficult. It's like the first time I've done any proper like warm-up exercises ever, and they were difficult. I'd like to continue doing them. I'd like to cook today or tomorrow for the week of next week, and that's it. Cool shit.